Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Christabel, the original Power Ranger princess. And on this channel, I'm Princess Power Ranger. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to start off by saying, on this channel, basically, I talk a lot about my own experiences as a trans woman. I also do Barbie collection, so I do a lot of Barbie unboxings, or rather, I'm gonna start. And I also focus on a lot of spirituality. Now, the things that I say are only my opinion, they are not facts. And in no way do I try to discredit anyone. Now, in my last video, it cut off before I could really finish, and I was so annoyed. But y'all know my old ass, millennial ass, has been here, God, since what, 1764? So I was like, I said what I wanted to say. I sent my main message out. Bless. Now, this video is a continuation of that story time. So I currently live in Thailand, and I'm a teacher at an international school. Now, in order for me to teach here, I had to go to Laos, essentially, to change my visa from a tourist visa to a working visa. Cool, so I get that done. And in the midst of me being in Laos, I came across the most interesting groups of men. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about a lot of the other guys that I met, but I think so much of our thoughts as trans women are centered around male gaze, male validation, male approval, how sexy you are in the eyes of men. So many trans women that are, into guys get trapped into this male-centered kind of ideology. And I get it. I mean, I was queen cocksucker. Girl, like literally nobody did it better than me. Like I got into some of the wildest, craziest situations trying to prove myself when I really never had to. And allowing loneliness, allowing insecurity to lower my standard. So, I want to talk about my sugar stalker. That's what I'm gonna call him, my sugar stalker. I think I've come across a lot of guys in my transition. And many of them obviously wanted to just experiment with me, just find out what it's like to be with somebody who's transgender. For a lot of them, it was just, for shits and giggles. And like, I'm someone who's very sensitive, like, I'm very self-protective. And I tried to be mindful of the type of people that I allowed into my life, especially as I got older. So imagine me being in Laos, my old ass, up in Laos, and I'd met this guy, or rather, we had started talking. on an application called Hi Friendly. Now, this is an app that allows you to meet other people in and around Thailand, not necessarily, locals, but it's a diverse selection of people. And there are a lot of guys on there that are specifically looking for trans women. Ewan Stewart. So we're going to call my sugar stalker Stewart. We started talking on Thai Friendly. And I'll be honest, a lot of my experiences on there, the minute I would reject a guy, they would go off at me about my race. Yeah, it's just, for me personally, it ended up not being a very positive experience. But talking to Stuart was kind of different. He was older, and he was established, you know what I mean? When I was in Laos, he called me on WhatsApp, and I remember we started talking, and he told me how he had been in the military, and we went into the British royal family and the military, and he talked about how he had met certain members. And for me, of course, this was super interesting because, yeah, I'm a history buff, so I love talking about that shit. So he found out that I was in Laos at the time. And at the time, he needed to do a border run himself. So, as we were talking, I mentioned that, I'm still in a place called Luang Prabang, and I need to go to the capital of Laos, which is Vientiane. So at that point, he's like, oh, he also needs to do a border run, and he'd love to meet me. Maybe we can go out, have dinner. Now, let it be known, at this point, this man has been a total gentleman. I mean, I would describe him as someone who had a rather high opinion of himself and loved the sound of his own voice. But I think because the things he was talking about were really interesting to me, I was happy to, listen. But I didn't realize how serious he was. Tell me why, when I'm in Vientiane, he asked me to confirm my hotel and lets me know that he's checking in that day. Now, you have to understand, we had just been casually talking. Any pictures that had been sent are, pictures of me at the beach, pictures of me and my friends, pictures of him in his, army regalia, just normal stuff. And he was really interested in meeting me, and I was like, okay, cool, well, I'm at this hotel. So, bitch, I gag when he shows up. So he's about 62 years old, and bitch, I'm 35. So he was much taller than me, had these big piercing blue eyes, and he had this beautiful blonde hair. It was this blondish white, and he looked like his pictures. which is, I can't tell you how many times that has not been the case. So I basically, we sit down, we have lunch, and we have drinks, and then we're swimming by the pool, you know, talking, getting to know each other. I'm trying to find out what his plans are, and he wanted to find out what my plans were and how long I'd be in Laos. Now, when he arrived, he came, like, I didn't expect him to buy me anything, but he got me perfume. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's Christian Dior. Now, what this tells me is that A, he does care. B, he is willing to spend money on me. But 3, he knows nothing about me. And this is the dynamic. This was basically me and him. Like, he decided on the day that we met, when he was showering me with these gifts and got me all liquored up, he was like, oh, my wife and I, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, hold up, wait, you're married? And he's like, yeah, he's been married for like, gosh, what, 19, 20 years, and has 2 children. So I'm all like, your profile said you were single, but I digress. I think for me, I've gotten to a stage where I've met so many guys that I know the more they talk about themselves, all they do is tell on themselves. Sometimes all you have to do is sit back and look pretty, and you will be amazed at the things that fall into your lap. Now, as you can imagine, like, I wasn't impressed with the fact that he chose to not tell me he's married. So, after, my drink with him and, like, we splash around in the pool, I tell him that, look, I need to get my documents set up because I have to go for my interview. So I dash off to my room and I'm like, what a waste of my time. So he's blowing me up on my phone. Tell me why. So I've sort of made it clear that, him being married is not something that, I don't know, like, I think at the time, like, it wasn't something that I was okay with, if I had to be honest. Or not necessarily the fact that he was married, the fact that he thought that he would tell me this on our first apparent date. Now, to add more gasoline to the already Krista fire that is burning within me. So he didn't want me to go into my room. He didn't want me to leave. And I'm like, no, I need to go back. I go back into my room. Tell me why I've lost my keys. So I don't have my keys. I have to contact reception, get another set of keys. It's going to cost me like, some money. And I'm like, oh, this is annoying. But sometimes I can be, absent-minded. So the funny thing is, that evening, he's still blowing me up, trying to talk to me, and At this point, I've cooled down and I'm focused on other things. Um, he asked if we could have, like a wine date. So I'm from South Africa, and in South Africa, there is a big wine culture. So I was like, okay, cool. We can have like wine and we can have cheese and we can like talk and whatever. Because, we're both in the hotel together, I guess. So we end up going to we got basically like a cab to this Italian restaurant, and the plan is that we're gonna buy like different types of wine and we're gonna buy some cheeses. Now I have my own personal favorites. Tell me why this man walks in, lets the door close behind me, goes straight up to the Italian guy who's selling the wines. They go on to have like a 10-minute discussion. They go through the different wine and cheese variations. And I'm sat there like, why am I here? Like, if he just wanted something to come along with him while he chose the wines and the food and everything, he could have literally just done that while I focused on my life. I did not need to accompany him. It gets worse. Like, on our ride back, he's all like, oh, he's so excited for the different wines he got. And I'm like, they look wonderful. And he's showing me the different cheeses, and I'm like, scrumptious. They look amazing. I mean, gosh. And at this point, I've already decided I'm not going to sit and drink with him and listen to him tell me more about his life. Like, at this point, I'd heard enough. Tell me why. Please explain to me as we get out of the cab. He's like, he wants to shower first, and then we can sit and have like a lovely dinner by the pool, and whatever, and drink. And oh, ha ha ha, here are your keys, by the way. He was the one. He took my keys. The previous evening, when he told me that he was a married man with 2 kids, yeah, like, and then I decided I didn't want to like sit there and hear more about his life. Yeah, he just, my keys. Wasn't me being clumsy, it was just me being finessed. So I just took my keys, went back into my room, dipped myself into the pool, wore my favorite bikini, because I'm not gonna waste my voice explaining why you cannot do that to someone. No, the best revenge is to be sexy. So I just splashed around the pool like Ariel, and I ordered myself, I think it was like a Long Island iced tea, while he had his wine. He kept waving, and I kept waving. He came to sit next to me. I jumped into the pool. Remember, I'm younger and I'm a faster swimmer. Once I was done with my splashing, I gulped. my Long Island iced tea, and I was up to my room. I was gonna waste any more time with him. I end up, he's still blowing me up and he's trying to find out what he did wrong. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's insufferable now. Read the room. Read the room. You've not allowed me to speak at any point. And the things you're doing are so wild. Doesn't matter that you got me something that I didn't even ask for. Could have bought me a Barbie. Could have bought me 10 Barbies. It would have been like, what? So much cheaper than this lovely piece of perfume that I do like. But point of the matter is, like, I'm not sure what kind of people he was used to dealing with. But, oh, I was ready to mean girl the shit out of this man. Because I knew that he would never listen to anything that I had to say. So I just had to play at his weaknesses. I was polite, I was cordial, I smiled. He asked how he could make it up. He was like, oh, let's go out for dinner. Let's go to the Hard Rock Cafe and somewhere else. And then you can choose whatever you want. So I was like, I'm low on cash, so I might as well. Me being stupid, I go there. Again, he talks about himself. Girl, I was on my phone. Ate my meal. Made sure he paid a big tip. And then we got some food at some Indian restaurant. And yeah, I went to bed. I let him pay for my meals. I let him show me around Vientiane. I was willing to be compliant. What I was not willing to do is share my body. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about sex. Yeah, he could tell me all his deepest and darkest fantasies. But that doesn't mean that I ever articulated at any point that I was going to be with him in that way. He never let me talk. Girl. The morning I'm having breakfast, and there is another guy. This is so crazy. He was also in his 60s, Australian, but daddy looked good. Like, and we had talked, and we had talked on the balcony, and it was kind of awkward because he was on a date with a Laotian girl, and long story short, he basically complimented me in front of his date, which I thought was weird. So in the morning, I'm having breakfast. Here comes Stuart. Lumps his big old self right on the chair opposite me. And I'm like, whatever, I know how to handle this dude. I'm just gonna have my meal and be on my phone. What is going on with me today? Like, I can't. Anyway. So I'm like, hell, I just have my breakfast. Stuart is talking about himself. And guess who turns the corner? Gary, the other guy. And, immediately Gary had this look of disappointment because he assumed I was with Stuart. The two of them spoke, and it was so interesting to watch him cower down to an alpha man, it was just like, I was just sat there like, talk to him, daddy, make him listen. So yeah, he goes and he has his breakfast. Stuart pays for my breakfast because I think like y'all are gonna have to ignore the planes that fly over this house. Y'all are just gonna have to ignore it. Yeah, like my MO, if I have to be honest, if Stuart wanted to do stuff for me, I was gonna let him. And if he wanted to sit next to me and go off about himself, I'd be polite. And he would, for whatever reason, magically always take care of that bill. And by me always excusing myself, by never truly allowing him to have access, it's almost as though he became more desperate. Now, he is someone who's quite tactless and puts his foot in his mouth all of the time. So when I was leaving, I got my visa. I can now go. I'm checking out. There's Stuart rushing behind me. I had told him that I was leaving, and he then booked the next flight to Chiang Mai. Now, Laos is a third world country, so all of the flights leaving from Vientiane going to Chiang Mai, I think they were 2 that day, and he got the one that I was on. So we were going to essentially, I'm going to butcher these names, but bear with me. We were going to fly from Vientiane, the capital, to Luang Prabang, and then from Luang Prabang back to Chiang Mai, a northern city in Thailand. Cool, whatever. Stuart pays my mini bar bill, and I'm like, I mean, I didn't ask, but how chivalrous. These are his ways of apologizing, and I guess I just let him. Like, it was just one of those things where I felt if he wanted to follow me around like a lovesick puppy, yeah, like, I just wanted to get back home.